The object of backgammon is to move all of your checkers off this weird board and into your home. And the first player to do that is the winner. This is backgammon, and you should know it. Hi, I'm Chris, and welcome to Playing Games. Please comment, like, and subscribe. Bear off your boredom right here at Playing Games. Setup. Backgammon is a two-player only game. A backgammon board consists of 24 narrow triangles called points, which are known as the teeth of the tiger, known as that by me alone, which changes today. The tiger's teeth are divided into 4 quadrants, or gums, which represent our playable spaces. One player takes the dark checkers and the other gets the light ones. The checkers must be set up like this. 2 checkers go here, 5 checkers go here, 3 checkers go here, not here, here, and the final 5 go here. You'll notice there are 15 checkers total. 8 go on the side closest to me, and 7 on the side opposite me. If you're the light color, your goal is to move your checkers counterclockwise, starting with the furthest position here, coming all the way around to here, which is the home, where all of my checkers need to go if I want to win. So that means these 2 are the furthest from my home, and these 5 are the closest. Now, something interesting about the setup is that your opponent will set up their checkers exactly the same as you in a mirrored position. So like this. Red also has 15 checkers. So they would put 5 here, 3 here, another 5 here, and 2 here. Now this might look a little odd. Why do they have the mirror image of us? Is that going to change their play? No, it's exactly the same. So if you switch the board around here and I suddenly played as red dark, it would look like this. Both sets of checkers want to end up on the same side here. So that means instead of going counterclockwise, dark goes clockwise. So the furthest checkers are here, just like the furthest whites were there, and they'll go clockwise around this horseshoe shape here, this big U shape, and the reds will want to end up there. And we'll sort of converge as we pass one another. If you're the lighter checkers, you're going to want to end up here, and your furthest tooth is there. So extend your right hand and touch those 2. If you are the darker color, it's not your right hand extended all the way to the furthest right corner. It's the left hand extended all the way to the top left here. That's your starting place if you're the darker color. As mentioned, this is a classic game, so you're going to want a nice set. This is a set that I found. I really like it. It's not the most expensive set, which is great. You could touch it. Ooh, it's nice and felty. If you want to check out a set, I'll put a few in the affiliates down below. Please buy through those. It helps the channel. It helps you because you get the backgammon board. Much appreciated if you buy from the affiliates below. Thanks. Once you have all your checkers in place, we have these. These are your random number generators, also known as dice, the 6-sided kind. Unless you're a savage, you'll also have a cup to roll your dice from. Your board might also come with this. It's a doubling cube. More on that at the end though. You'll notice that the board is divided into 2 halves where it opens up from. These are known as the home boards, or better yet, the gums of the tiger. The goal of the lighter color is to move the checkers counterclockwise around the board and into my home, but I can't put my checkers into their home until I have all of my checkers in my home board. That's the 6 teeth that are closest to my right hand here. Now, if you're the dark color, it's a little different, but not much. Spin it around. Yes, if you are the darker color, it's good if you're a lefty because your home board is next and closest to your left hand here. If I'm playing the dark color, I want to get them all to this home board before getting them home. There's a special term in backgammon for putting your checkers into their home. It's called bearing your checkers off the board. You bear them, carry them off the board into the home. And if you do that with all of your checkers before your opponent does, well, you've bared them all off to their home and you are the winner. Congratulations. Gameplay. To start, each player rolls just 1 die. They roll at the same time and whoever has the highest roll begins. So if I'm white and my opponent is red, we roll at the same time. I have the higher roll, 4 being more than 2. Well, I get to not only move my checkers the 4, I can also move a checker 2, or I can combine them both and move 1 checker 6 spaces. Every turn you will roll 2 dice, but because there's a starter player advantage, decide who gets that through a lucky roll. Note, after the first turn, players will roll their own 2 dice, not the combination of theirs and their opponent's. That only happens once on the initial roll of your very first game. So if I had this roll to begin, I have a 4 and a 2. I can move one of my checkers 1, 2, like that. I can move another 1, 2, 3, 4, like that. Or I could move just one of them 6. I could add them together. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And it doesn't have to be the furthest checker to start. It could be any of these checkers as long as it's a valid move.
When moving, the numbers rolled must be addressed individually, not as a singular sum, even if you are only moving one checker. That means if you want to add this 3 and 2 to go 5 spaces with this one checker, you can't do it. That's because you're blocked from going either 2 or 3 spaces, even though that 5th space is open. If you had instead rolled a 4 and a 1, you could make the move by first moving 4 spaces and then the 1.
Can you move a checker to a tiger's tooth, which is occupied? Yes, if it is occupied with your checkers. But what about your opponent's checkers? No, you can't, unless it's unprotected. If your opponent has a lone checker on a tooth, it's unprotected, called a blot. And if your checker ends on that tooth, you take it over or hit it and send their checker off the board and onto the bar, which is located right in the middle of the board, right here. If I had a 2 and a 1, I could go 1, 2, 3. There's only one of my opponent's checkers there. I just hit their checker, I hit it off the board, and it goes right to the bar right here. It's out of play right now. If one or more of your checkers has been hit and it's still on the bar, the player must play their checker off the bar before moving other checkers. So if red was on the bar because they got hit, they'd have to roll it in starting from their furthest tooth, which is there for them, because remember, they're going this way to there. So they'd have to roll it in 1, 2, 3, 4 before using any of the other rolls. They couldn't, however, go 6 because that would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's occupied. Let's say the white checkers were like this, and the red player rolled a 5 and a 6. Well, they can't go 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's blocked. It has 2 or more checkers. They can't go 6. Same thing. They would have to end their turn, and they can't use these dice for any other piece. Because as long as you have a checker stuck on the bar, you can't move your other pieces. You have to get that piece in first. If I also had a checker on the board, I'd have to enter from this tooth here, not this one. The furthest one from me. Red's furthest point would be there. This is bad news, so protect your pieces and try not to get hit. If you roll doubles, ding, 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 that's a bonus. You get to make 4 moves. So if I roll double 4s, that would mean I get to use that 4 times. If I roll double 5s, it's not 5 times, it's 4 times. You can combine them all into one big number if you want, or you can split them up between as many as 4 checkers. But if all 4 numbers can't be played, the player plays as many as possible. Bearing off. As stated, the objective of backgammon is to be the first player to move all of their checkers off the board. Again, this is called bearing off. To bear off a checker, you must roll a number high enough to get your checker past that final tooth and into its home base. It does not have to be an exact number. Here's the rub though. You cannot bear off any of your checkers until all of your checkers are on your home board, which are the final 6 teeth on your board. I can't yet get them home because I still have 2 checkers that are outside of my home board. So even if I roll numbers here, 5, this is 5 away, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, I can't put that in yet. I need to make sure that all of my white checkers are on this home board. Same thing with the red. They can't score yet because they need to get this final red checker onto the home board first, and then they can score. And that can happen on the same turn. So I rolled a 5 and a 2. I'd go 1, 2, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And so next turn, I'll be able to start to score. And when we get to this point, it's just really a race to see who can get there. It's a lot of luck. So you must be strategic about getting all of your checkers to your home board earlier than your opponent. Other rules. You can't move your checkers backwards. You can only move them in the direction of play for your side. Players must use all of their rolled numbers. If only one number can be played because you're blocked in some way, it must be played. If only one of 2 numbers can be played, the larger one must be played. If no legal moves can be made, the turn ends once you're stumped. If you have a piece off of the board on the bar and can't move it in with the doubles, well, too bad. You can't use any of the sweet, sweet doubles bonus.
All dice must be rolled on the board. If any die lands and it's not flat to the board, it must be re-rolled. Same goes if it lands outside of the board.
If you are overflowing, you can just add on top of them. You don't want to have a sloppy tooth that has many, many things. There's really no limit there.
To bear off your checkers, you can bear them off from teeth corresponding to the dice rolled, or you can move them closer inward. You're not required to bear them off if you have other valid moves you want to make. Either way, you must use your entire roll. That means if you roll a 6, but all of your checkers are less than 6 spaces from home, you must instead bear off your furthest checker for that dice roll. Same rule applies with doubles and their bonuses. You can't bear off a checker if the tooth indicated on the die roll is vacant and there are any checkers further away from that tooth. You must instead move one of those further checkers closer without bearing off. If somehow you have a blot that's hit during your bearing off stage, that piece goes to the bar and you can't bear off any more checkers until you get that piece back on the board and all the way back to your home board.
The doubling cube. Want to spice up your backgammon game? This is the doubling cube. Despite what you might think, you don't roll the doubling cube. However, this cube allows players to increase the stakes of the game. What does that mean? Well, for those of you gambling fiends, winning a game of backgammon is worth just 1 point. You can play multiple games, tallying up the total points to determine the final winner. For example, it could be the first player to get 50 points, and the winner would take all the earnings from the pot. But why not add a bit more strategy and stakes to the mix? Not to mention speed up the gameplay. And that's exactly what this doubling cube does. In a game, before the cube enters the arena, the game starts at 1 point, meaning each game is worth 1 point. But during the game, if you feel confident in your position, you think you're going to win, you can propose doubling the stakes. If your opponent refuses, they forfeit the game and you win the 1 point, not 2 points. But if they accept, the game continues, and now the winner earns 2 points instead of 1. Control of the cube now passes to your opponent, and only they can propose the next double during that same game. So the cube could be doubled again later in the same game, escalating the stakes to 4. The cube passes back to that first player. They could escalate it to 8, then 16, 32, and 64. Once the game ends, the cube resets, and we're back to 1 point for that next game, unless somebody wants to double that. If playing this way, make sure you've agreed on the final amount of points to win the pot. Did I miss something? Do you play it differently? Know all the killer strategies? Or just want to say hi? Please let me know in the comments, and I'll do my best to keep the knowledge alive. Please subscribe, like, and share to help this channel grow. You are great. See you next time on Playing Games.